juicy struggle of it all is making sure that when life comes at you and everything, there's 1,000 people and 1,000 things that need your attention right now, making sure that you don't ever capsize your own process and get more busy working for God than you are working with God and doing his will. So for me, it's the balancing act. We've talked through this personally a lot. We'll get into it here in a minute, but it's who I empower around me, the tools, the tips, the techniques, the things that keep me grounded. I'm really honored by what I get to do, but I don't feel some sense of validation that's different by it. And I thank God for that, because if I did, I could have my own risks for egotism. I could have my own risks, as you know, for wanting to please people. That's these kind of balance. They actually help each other, but I could lean one way or the other, because I really would like everyone to love me and like what I'm doing. I'd like everyone to like every call, and I would like everyone to think it's a great call. It's a great idea, And so I have to guard against those risks. And I try to do that by having really healthy balance of life and allowing the people around me to speak into my life and help keep that guarded.
I love that. So your main, I guess if I could sum up your main struggle is just the fleshly side of you, the internal struggles that may be there, and just fighting through that with rhythm of life and with devotion with the Lord and things of that nature, and leaning on people around you.
Yeah, my main struggle is just that I have so much going.
Yeah.
Right? There's just so much. That's my main struggle, is that if I'm not careful, I could just get out of balance with one thing or another. And I can't do that. So I guess the main struggle for me would be to not utilize the structure that I know actually works and keeps integrity in the entire process.
That's good. That is gold right there. That is really good, to not use the structure around you. So that kind of bridges into my next question I want to ask you about structure.
Yeah.
Your just literally the structure of your days and your weeks, it's going to help you juggle everything effectively, obviously.
Critical.
Any tips or tools that you would recommend? And maybe just tell us a little bit about your structure of your days and weeks. I'd love to know what it looks like.
Okay. Well, mine obviously is going to look different than a lot of people's. And so let me come out of the gate by telling you this as a listener. Do not compare what you're doing with what
Great
other
point.
people are doing. You've got to find what works for you. And
Great point.
Nothing about this podcast. Yeah, nothing about this podcast can be you saying, well, man, I shouldn't feel so busy if he's managing that. And there's never comparison amongst each other. I'm blessed with incredible teams and staff that I'm about to talk about. And I think my team would tell you, I love to develop teams and empower people. I will tell you, I can tell you want to ask me. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, I just want to point out that, your organization is a few steps ahead of many organizations. And so I'm looking at this, even in this question, as to what some individuals that may be listening to this can strive towards. It sort of gives them a vision to what they can work towards, and you do it effectively. So to hear what you do, to hear your tips and tools and how you structure your day and week, I think will be extremely valuable, no matter where those individuals may be.
Awesome.
But great point.
Well, I will tell you, for us, I love empowering people. Okay. Now, when I was younger, we used to call it delegation. Now we call it empowering. It's really the same thing, on some level.
Yeah.
But people shouldn't feel like they're simply delegated to. They should feel empowered. Everything from cleaning the floor to setting up lights and microphones and giving also valuable feedback. So the way this works for me within the scope and structure of what we have is allowing our team to actually have a voice. and to be a team.
Hmm.
Common words for me with leaders that are around me are, judge me on this. I learned that. It was what I was
That's
taught
good.
by walking in rooms with peers that I highly respected and leaders that I really trusted that said those words. And when I first heard them in a room and someone who I highly respected said, I need you to judge me on this. At first I thought, I'm not judging you on anything. There's no way, until I
Yeah.
realized that my critical feedback was protecting their purpose.
Hmm.
And so every day for me here looks different. I have, as you know, an amazing secretary. I have three different drinks. We were talking about this right here before me. I have 3 different types of drinks that we're setting on this table because I came from a meeting that ran 6 minutes over, and I'm walking in to be a part of the podcast, and these drinks are sitting here. Now, some people is going to listen to this and be like, wow, that's needy. I didn't ask her to do this. It was just something she's trying to help me
She
win.
has a gift. She has
She
a
has a
gift to
gift.
do what she's doing, for
She
sure.
does. She has a gift for it. And I will say this, she would tell you she is empowered to lead with excellence.
Mm-hmm.
She is not, I don't treat her as a leader that I have to put my thumb on, that I have to keep creativity down. She has a vital voice at the table. And so I think it helps her to enjoy doing the job as well. It's not that I'm the chief
I need to bring that out a little bit.
Okay.
You've given even your administrative assistant a voice.
Oh.
That is so valuable. That is when you're delegating, to me, that is one of the most valuable things about delegating, about working with a team, is giving your team a voice. I love that. Kind of dive into that just a hair more, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she probably would see my blind spots more than others would. And if
No
she doesn't
doubt.
have license to call me on that, and you're probably not putting people around you that are going to do it in an antagonistic fashion, but you also can't be leading in a way that they have to be passive aggressive because you can't handle direct feedback. And so there's a balance there. But when it comes to the validation of voice, I think my stance on it is honestly biblical. How is it possible that the Holy Ghost trusts her enough to use her voice for the validation of the infilling of the Spirit, but we wouldn't trust that voice enough for it to be used in one-on-one conversations or team settings? And I know the scenarios are very different, and some could say, well, that's too far apart, but I would disagree. The Spirit of God so trusts that individual that when he does fill them, the initial evidence of that infilling, we believe is recognized, because when they receive the Spirit of God, they're filled with his Spirit, that he gets a hold of their tongue. So I put Spirit-filled people around me that are helping guard that, then that voice can be validated. That's kind of my philosophy there.
And I think about what that does for you. It helps you. It brings to the table a different set of eyes that you would normally not have. But I also think about what that does to your administrative assistant, how that makes her feel accepted, how that makes her feel valued and affirmed in what she's doing. And to me, I mean, we just want a seat at the table. We want to feel like we're valuable in whatever organization that we're serving in. And that is what makes it valuable. They have a voice. You're willing to listen to them.
Acknowledging value. We've preached for the last 2,000 years about a little kid who brought some fish and bread, who everybody else would have thought didn't have much. Well, he's kind of outside of Christ, the star of the show, because of the little bit that he brought. It changed the dynamics big time. And so I think to ever have staff, whether volunteer or paid, that we treat differently than that, I think it's a miss for us as leaders if we don't give teams that right. And obviously, if you're listening, you got to balance that. Nobody can be a runaway train with their voice. We're going to all have different personalities. But I think allowing that to stay stay open. I've heard a lot of pastors that say, well, I've got an open door policy. Well, we also have to have open ear policy. We have to
Yeah.
make sure that we're ready to hear and receive, and whether it's what we want to hear, sometimes it's what we need to hear. And I think most of your listeners would say, as a leader, they're in that place as well. They want that critical feedback. I trust to a fault at times, and so I'm going to say, everyone listening, you want that feedback anyway. You just have to make sure that the people around you know that you'll receive it without judgment and with
Yeah.
good dialogue.